There's a crop that produces food for 12 straight months, stores itself underground for a year, and most gardeners have never even heard of it. Another one walks across your garden on its own, planting itself in new spots while you sleep. And number 7 is probably already growing in your driveway right now, except you've been ripping it out thinking it's a weed. Look, I'm not here to waste your time with the same old beans and corn advice everyone else is giving you. When things get difficult, and they will, the tomatoes everyone's obsessing over aren't going to cut it. What you need are crops that actually keep you fed when grocery stores are empty or when money gets tight. Crops that don't die on you. Crops that come back year after year without you replanting them. That's what we're covering today. 15 crops that will still be producing food when everything else in your neighbor's garden has failed. Stick with me because 3 of these will completely change how you think about food security. Hey everyone, welcome back to Greenery Gazette. I'm here because I got tired of the same recycled gardening advice that doesn't actually help when you need it most. If you're new here, this channel is about practical food independence, not pretty gardens for Instagram, not trendy vegetables that require perfect conditions, real food production that works when conditions aren't perfect. Hit that subscribe button right now because we're putting out content every week that you won't find anywhere else. Stuff that actually matters when you're trying to feed your family without depending on a system that keeps getting more expensive and less reliable. And do me a favor, if even one of these crops surprises you today, drop a comment with the number. I want to know which ones are completely new to you. All right, let's get into it. Crop 1. Sunchokes. Also called Jerusalem artichokes. And no, they're not from Jerusalem and they're not artichokes. They're tubers that look like ginger root and taste like a cross between artichokes and potatoes. Here's what makes them survival crops. You plant them once and they come back every single year without you doing anything. They're perennials that spread aggressively. Some people call them invasive. I call them reliable. These plants grow 6 to 8 feet tall with pretty yellow flowers that look like small sunflowers. But underground is where it gets interesting. The tubers multiply like crazy. You can harvest them anytime from fall through winter or just leave them in the ground until you need them. They literally store themselves. No root cellar required, no canning, no freezer. Just dig them up when you're hungry. They grow in terrible soil. They handle drought. Pests mostly ignore them. The only real downside is that once you plant them, they're committed to that spot. So pick a corner of your yard where you don't mind them taking over. One small patch, maybe 10 feet by 10 feet, can produce 50 to 100 pounds of tubers. That's months of food from a crop that requires 0 annual replanting. When times get tough, having food that takes care of itself is everything. Crop number 2 is walking onions. And yes, they actually walk. Kind of. These are the weirdest onions you'll ever see. Instead of making seeds like normal onions, they grow little bulbs on top of their stems. Those top bulbs get heavy. The stem can't support the weight, so it bends over, the bulbs touch the ground and root themselves. That's how they walk across your garden over time. It's slow motion, but it happens. You'll plant them in one spot, and 3 years later, they're 3 feet away from where you started. You can eat every part of this plant. The green tops work exactly like scallions. The underground bulbs taste like regular onions, but sharper, more intense. And those top bulbs that grow on the stems, you can pickle them, roast them, or just plant them to make more walking onions. They're perennial, so they come back year after year. They multiply faster than you can use them. In winter, they die back to the ground, but come spring, they're one of the first things popping up with fresh green growth. Having fresh onion flavor available 10 months out of the year without replanting is huge when you're trying to make basic food taste decent. And they're nearly indestructible. Forget to water them? They don't care. Bad soil? They'll manage. Plant them once and you'll have onions for the rest of your life. We're only 2 crops in and I haven't even gotten to the one that produces pounds of food from what looks like trash. That's coming up at number 3. But first, quick question. How many of these have you actually heard of before? Drop a comment. I'm genuinely curious. Number 3 is oyster mushrooms. Most people think mushrooms are complicated. They're not. Oyster mushrooms are actually one of the easiest crops you can grow, and they produce food faster than almost anything else on this list. Here's how simple it is. You get oyster mushroom spawn online for maybe 20 bucks. Then you find logs, hardwood works best, or even cardboard and straw if you don't have logs. You inoculate the substrate with spawn, keep it moist and shaded, and within weeks you've got mushrooms. We're talking pounds of food from a single log that keeps producing for years. One log can give you 6 to 10 pounds of mushrooms over its lifespan. Oyster mushrooms grow in spring and fall when it's cool and damp. They're packed with protein, they taste amazing, and they grow so fast you can literally watch them expand overnight. Here's the survival angle that nobody talks about. When everyone's fighting over limited garden space, you can stack mushroom logs vertically in a shady spot and produce serious food in an area the size of a closet. And get this, oyster mushrooms break down wood and straw. That means you're turning trash into food. Old cardboard boxes? Food. Tree branches from pruning? Food. It's almost unfair how productive this is. Crop number 4 is amaranth. This is one of those ancient grains that modern people completely forgot about, and that's a massive mistake. Amaranth is a dual-purpose powerhouse. You can eat the leaves like spinach throughout the summer, and you can harvest the seeds like a grain in fall. One plant, 2 completely different types of food. The leaves have way more vitamins and minerals than regular lettuce or spinach. You can keep harvesting them all summer, and the plant just keeps producing. Then in late summer, these massive seed heads form. We're talking thousands of tiny seeds per plant. You let them dry, thresh them out, and you've got a gluten-free grain that stores for years. The seeds can be popped like popcorn, cooked like oatmeal, or ground into flour. The leaves can be eaten raw when young or cooked like any leafy green. Here's what makes it survival-worthy. Amaranth grows in heat that would kill most crops. It handles drought. It doesn't need fertilizer, and it grows tall enough, 6 to 8 feet, that you can interplant it with shorter crops to maximize space. Having a crop that gives you both greens and grain from the same plant is incredibly efficient when garden space is limited or when you're trying to produce maximum food with minimum effort. Crop number 5 is ground cherries, and these are one of my personal favorites. They taste like tropical fruit, kind of like pineapple mixed with vanilla and tomato, but they grow in regular garden conditions. They're in the tomato family, but instead of big fruits on vines, you get hundreds of little marble-sized fruits that fall to the ground in paper husks when they're ripe. Here's why they matter. They reseed themselves aggressively. Plant them once and you'll have volunteers every year after. They produce like crazy. One plant can give you several pounds of fruit. And the fruits keep for weeks in their husks without refrigeration. Just leave them in a bowl on the counter. They handle neglect really well. Irregular watering? Fine. Poor soil? They'll manage. And they fruit from midsummer straight through to frost. When fresh fruit becomes expensive or hard to find, having something this sweet and productive growing in your yard is a blessing. You can eat them fresh, make jam, bake them into desserts, or dry them like raisins. Kids love them because they taste like candy, and because they're uncommon, you're not competing with anyone else for seeds or growing information. All right, we're at the halfway point, and the next one is going to blow your mind because it's probably growing in your driveway right now, and you've been treating it like the enemy. Stick with me. Number 6 is purslane. This is technically a weed. It grows in sidewalk cracks, driveways, disturbed soil, pretty much anywhere. Most people spray it or rip it out, but purslane is actually one of the most nutritious plants you can eat. It's loaded with omega-3 fatty acids, more than most fish. The leaves are thick and succulent, taste kind of lemony and salty, and the stems are crunchy. You can eat it raw in salads, cook it like spinach, pickle it, or add it to soups. And it produces seeds like crazy. Once you have it, you'll have it forever. Here's the survival angle. Purslane thrives in heat and drought when everything else is dying. It grows so fast you can harvest it multiple times in a season. And because it's already growing wild in most places, you don't even have to plant it. Just stop pulling it and start eating it. It's free food that requires zero input from you.
In tough times, being able to walk outside and harvest a nutritious vegetable from what everyone else thinks is a weed problem, that's pure gold. And it reseeds itself every year, so you never have to think about it. Crop 7. Perennial kale. Most people know regular kale, but perennial kale is completely different. Varieties like Daubentons kale don't make seeds, they just keep growing year after year. You plant it once and you've got kale forever. It doesn't bolt and turn bitter like annual kale. You just keep harvesting leaves and it keeps making more. Through winter, through summer, it just keeps going. In difficult times, having a vegetable that produces 12 months a year without replanting is massive. No seed saving, no starting seedlings indoors, nothing. It's just always there. You can take cuttings to make more plants, share them with neighbors, fill your whole yard with them if you want. It's hardy down to about 15 degrees Fahrenheit and bounces back from hard freezes. Deer don't love it as much as other greens, and it grows in partial shade, which means you can tuck it under trees or in spots where other crops won't thrive. This is one of the most low-maintenance vegetables you can grow. Plant it once and harvest forever. Crop 9. Turkish rocket. Number 9 is Turkish rocket. This is another perennial green that most Americans have never heard of. It's related to arugula, but way hardier. It grows through winter and most climates, comes back every spring, and has this peppery, spicy flavor that makes everything taste better. You harvest it like lettuce, just cutting leaves and letting the plant regrow. It produces from early spring through late fall. In mild climates, it never really stops. One plant can give you greens for years without any replanting. It handles poor soil, doesn't need fertilizer, and laughs at cold weather. While your neighbors are waiting for spring to plant lettuce, you're already harvesting fresh greens in February or March. And because it spreads slowly from the roots, you can divide it every few years to make more plants. In survival situations, having fresh greens when nothing else is growing yet is a huge morale boost and a nutritional win. We've got 6 more to go, and number 12 is going to surprise you because it's probably growing in your yard as an ornamental. You just didn't know you could eat it. Stick with me. Crop 10. Sea kale. Number 10 is sea kale. This is a coastal perennial vegetable that grows wild along European beaches, but it thrives in regular gardens too. It's one of the first things to pop up in spring, and you can harvest the young shoots like asparagus. It's a long-lived perennial, can produce for 20 years or more from a single planting. The shoots are tender and delicious in early spring. Later in the season, you can eat the leaves and flower buds. It's salty and slightly bitter, really unique flavor. It tolerates poor soil, salt spray if you're near the coast, and cold winters. Once established, it's nearly indestructible. Having a vegetable that produces early spring food before anything else is ready is critical. That's when stored food from last year is running low and fresh vegetables are scarce. Sea kale fills that gap perfectly.
Crop 11. Good King Henry. Number 11 is Good King Henry. This is an old European perennial vegetable that was popular for centuries before people forgot about it. It's related to quinoa and spinach, and you can eat the leaves, shoots, and flower buds. In spring, the young shoots taste like asparagus. Later, the leaves work like spinach, and the flower buds can be cooked like broccoli. It's a 3-season crop from one perennial plant that lives for years. And here's the kicker: it grows in shade. Most crops need full sun, but Good King Henry actually prefers some shade. This means you can grow food in parts of your yard that are otherwise useless for gardening, under trees, along the north side of your house, anywhere with partial shade. It's tough, cold-hardy, and once established, it takes care of itself. Having multiple types of food from one plant that never needs replanting is efficient and smart. Let me rapid-fire through the last 4 because they're all game changers. Number 12, daylilies. Yes, the flowers. Every part is edible. The tubers taste like sweet potatoes. The shoots taste like asparagus. The flower buds are like green beans. They're already growing in millions of yards as ornamentals, but most people have no idea they're sitting on a food source. Just make sure you're eating true daylilies, Hemerocallis species, not other types which can be toxic. Number 13, Malabar spinach. This isn't actually spinach, but it fills the same role. It loves heat. While regular spinach bolts and dies in summer, Malabar spinach is just getting started. It climbs fences, produces thick, succulent leaves all summer, and reseeds itself in warm climates. Number 14, oca. This is a South American tuber like a potato, but tangier, almost lemony. It's resistant to most common potato diseases because it's a completely different plant family. When everyone's potatoes are struggling with blight, your oca is thriving. The tubers are beautiful, pink, red, yellow, orange, and they store for months. Number 15, mashua. Another South American tuber that basically nobody in the U.S. grows. It's related to nasturtiums, and the entire plant is edible. One plant can produce 5 to 10 pounds of tubers. They taste like spicy radish potatoes, and because they're so uncommon here, there are almost no diseases that affect them. So, there you have it, 15 crops that actually make sense when you're thinking about food security in difficult times. These aren't your basic garden vegetables. These are plants that work hard for you, produce reliably, and don't quit when conditions get tough. The beautiful thing is, you can start small. Pick 2 or 3 that sound interesting and try them this year. See how they do, learn their quirks, and slowly build a garden that's not just productive, but resilient. Here's what I need you to do right now. Hit that like button so this reaches more people who need to know this information. Subscribe to Greenery Gazette and turn on notifications because we're putting out practical content like this every single week. Drop a comment and tell me which of these crops you're most excited to try. Or maybe you're already growing one and you've got tips to share. I read every comment and I genuinely want to know. And if you found this helpful, share it with someone who's thinking about food security. We're all learning together. Check the description for links to seed sources for some of these uncommon crops. The next video is already in the works, and it's about a tree that was literally made illegal to plant in thousands of cities because it produces too much food. You're not going to want to miss that one. Thanks for watching. Now get out there and grow something uncommon. I'll see you in the next one.